Anthropic dropped Claude Sonnet 5 last week, and it was disappointing, but at least Fable 5 is back, just maybe nerfed, and oh, Claude Code might have some spyware-like code in it to detect Chinese usage. Let's jump in. I'll start with Sonnet 5. This is actually the first Sonnet update in 4.5 months, and Anthropic says this is built to be their most agentic Sonnet model yet, with performance close to Opus 4.8, but at lower prices. Pricing is a really interesting one with this model, so we'll be coming back to that. First though, let's take a look at the benchmarks that Anthropic provides. It beats its predecessor on all of these, and it nears Opus on a few of them like terminal bench and computer use, even beating Opus slightly in knowledge work. I prefer to look at third-party benchmarks though, and the ones I trust are from Artificial Analysis, and on that coding index, it comes out a few points behind Opus, but very slightly ahead of GPT 5.4. It's made a very nice leap from its predecessor Sonnet 4.6. It's the same story on the intelligence index as well, slotted between GPT 5.5 and GPT 5.4, but interestingly on the agentic index, it actually outperformed GPT 5.5. So when they said in that blog that they put a lot of work into its agentic capabilities, it seems to have paid off here. From the benchmarks then, it looks like a pretty competent model, and it's definitely a step up from Sonnet 4.6, but now let's talk about that pricing element. On the API pricing, they're actually doing a discounted price at $2 for a million input tokens and $10 for a million output tokens. That is until August 31st. Then it's going to go back to the same price as the other Sonnet models, which was $3 for a million input tokens and $15 for a million output tokens. This places it around Gemini 3.5 Flash and GPT 5.6 Terra, if we ever get access to that, and as they said, it's cheaper than Opus 4.8. The trouble is though, in practice, this is just not true at all. This model is extremely token hungry. It uses around 69,000 tokens to run one task in the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, making it more than Sonnet 4.6, Opus 4.8, Fable 5, GPT 5.4, and 5.5. If you look at it on this quadrant here, where green is the place to be, it is as far away as it can be out of these models. This then obviously has a knock-on effect on the actual cost of a task, and Artificial Analysis found that Sonnet 5 came out to be more expensive than Opus 4.8 per task, only beaten by Fable. Plus, if you take a model like GPT 5.5, which actually does better on most of the benchmarks, it is half the price of Sonnet 5. It is worth noting here that Artificial Analysis are actually using the standard price of the model and not the discounted one, so I would be super curious to see if Anthropic try and fix this by maybe extending that discount or just leaving that as the permanent pricing. Even worse than cost per task though, Artificial Analysis actually found to run their entire test suite that Sonnet 5 cost more than Fable 5. Like, what happened here? Even on Cursor Bench, if you look at Sonnet 5 High, it's about the same price as Opus 4.8 for a similar result, and as you go up the effort levels, Sonnet 5 Max scores worse than Opus 4.8 Extra High, while costing more. It just really feels like they need to update or fix something here, or I just don't see where this model fits in. It is by no means a bad model capability-wise, just economically. And I've been a big fan of the Sonnet models. I think they were the first ones that many of us daily drove, but over the past few months, I've always used Opus 4.8, and none of this has made me change my mind. Especially with Fable being back, it's going to be Fable for the hard tasks, and Opus 4.8 for daily driving, and Sonnet for nothing. Talking of Fable 5, the export controls got lifted, and it's now back for everyone, regardless of your citizenship, but sadly you had a week to use this within your plan limits, or at least 50% of your plan limits, and after July 7th, it will only be available via usage credits. There were some interesting points in that blog about the initial ban. It did actually come from a supposed jailbreak from an Amazon researcher who managed to prompt it to find security vulnerabilities, and in one case demonstrated how to exploit one, but when looking into this, Anthropic found that loads of models like Claude Opus 4.8, GPT 5.5, and Kimi K2.7 could identify the exact same vulnerability as Fable 5 did in that report, and when it came to a demonstration of how to exploit the single vulnerability, every single model tested could do it, including Claude Haiku 4.5, Sonnet 4.6, Opus 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, GPT 5.4, 5.5, and Kimi K2.7. So it seems to me that the ban was pretty pointless then, and all it's really achieved is that Anthropic have now made their safeguards even stricter on Fable, making loads more normal requests get blocked, and in their announcement tweet, they actually said that routine tasks like debugging and coding would fall back to Opus 4.8, but an Anthropic employee has later corrected this, saying it should only be a small number of them. But it has seemingly impacted some benchmarks more than others, with claims that Fable has now been nerfed. Basically, it's just falling back to Opus 4.8 more, so it's performing a lot worse on these benchmarks. On a similar topic to the export controls and the bans, some people noticed that Claude Code now has some attempts at fingerprinting in a very sneaky way by modifying its system prompts date string. This is a great blog post that goes into all of the details, and I'll leave this linked below, but the TLDR is there's a function in Claude Code that checks if your time zone is in China. If it is, your date string will change from using hyphens to using slashes. Then it will also check if your API-based URL matches this list, or if the hostname contains specific AI lab keywords like DeepSeek, Minimax, or ZAI, and if it does, it will change the apostrophe in today's to a different Unicode character that basically looks the exact same. It's a very clever technique called steganography, and most of you won't be impacted by this. It's basically meant to try and detect those API resellers, unauthorized Claude Code gateways, and model distillation attacks. I don't really have an issue with them trying to do that. I just prefer that they're a bit more honest about the things that are in Claude Code and don't try to hide it in this way. Do you think that's an issue? And what do you think of Sonnet 5 and Fable's return? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're there, subscribe, and as always, see you in the next one.